This councilman is encouraging businesses to come to his city. Let's find out why. Up next on the Giblin Report. Welcome to the Giblin Report. I'm Assemblyman Tom Giblin, representing the 34th District, which includes Clifton, East Orange, Montclair, and Orange. Joining me today is Councilman Matt Grabowski of Clifton, New Jersey. Welcome, Councilman.
Assemblyman, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
You've been a lifelong resident of Clifton. You made a decision a couple of years to pursue public office.
True.
What prompted you to kind of get into the political business?
Oh, it's a long story, but I think what happened was I was always involved with the city of Clifton. My family was raised to always be very involved in town events and community involvement. I was told, well, I wouldn't say told, but I was offered the position to head up the Athenian Business Association, to resurrect it approximately 10 years ago. I think the good job that I've done for the city and the community prompted people to reach out to me and say, you know, you should really consider running for city council. Your heart is in Clifton. We see the good work you're doing, and you could probably do better work as a elected official. I thought about it for, you know, maybe 1 or 2 years, and then sure enough, something just kicked me one day and said, you know what, let's do this, and we did, and I did.
Do you find the job of council member in Clifton more than you bargained for in terms of time commitment? I know there's a lot of work in terms of the government, then I think that people tug at you for, you know, coming to their activities and events.
Yeah, you know what, it's interesting because the level of councilman has responsibilities. We implement policies in the city of Clifton where many people think we're responsible for when it rains and snows, and that's not necessarily true. So it does have its, as good as it is, as bad as it is. I wish I could solve the problems that many people come to us with, but it's just not in our privy to do so. But it is time consuming, there's no question.
You know, for the benefit of our viewers, tell us a little bit about Clifton itself, you know, approximate size, and the diversity is beyond belief as compared to any municipality I know in terms of ethnic and racial background. You want to?
That's true. We're one of the most diverse cities in the state of New Jersey. We have approximately, consensus is about 84,000 people. I believe we're about 11.1 square miles. It's a large city, and Clifton's unique because it's almost like a hub, where many things surround Clifton. You know, a lot of your, as you're familiar, the towns, Montclair, your minutes to New York City, Nutley, Little Falls, Passaic, Patterson. It's a very big city.
Even with the high school, it's probably one of the largest high schools in the state, right? I guess that attributes to a lot of the success you have in sports activities.
Well, that's true. Clifton High School is one of the largest. I mean, when I graduated in the 70s, late 70s, we had 3 wings, and there was over 3,000 kids in the school at that time.
And now it's probably that much higher, right?
I know they added another wing to it. I don't know because of the special groups and classrooms if the number went up, but it's a large high school.
What's large. You know, some of the aspects you like as far as being a councilman? I mean, you know, it's the meetings, you know, getting to meet different constituencies.
I think being a councilman, I like being able to answer the will of the people. I like being able to make a difference, and that's the reason I ran. And that's the reason I was encouraged to run, because it seems that when you follow your heart and you follow what you believe in, and you see the outcome of those efforts, it's self-rewarding. You know, you feel good about helping another person in life, because I think that's what we're all really here for, is to help each other.
You could kind of bring a different perspective, you know, to public office. I believe you're a licensed real estate broker?
Yes, yes, I'm a licensed.
And what's the name of your company?
Castle Realty Group.
Okay, so you kind of see the comings and goings, so to speak, of new people coming in the city, perhaps retirees moving out, some of the activity with business, either small business or big business. Has that perspective helped you in terms of, you know, looking at, you know, the long-range futures of Clifton?
Well, you're right. It gives you a different perspective on it that, and I don't mean this disrespectfully, that other council members may not have, because I interact with the people who are moving in and moving out, and I sit in their homes with them every day, and I know the reasons and the elements of why they would want to come in and why the reasons they would want to come out. I'm not going to necessarily address those right now, but it helps you in making decisions and what policies matter. As far as involvement in Clifton, I've been in a private sector business owner since I can remember. You know, we were raised in a business family, and we were encouraged by our parents to be entrepreneurial in spirit. Actually, my first little business was when I was 25 years old. I bought an ice cream candy store on Main Ave in Clifton, okay. And then continued. I've probably had a half a dozen businesses. So my key focus is on business because business gives jobs to people.
Looking at Clifton, we're talking to many people who are not Clifton residents. There's a lot of different neighborhoods. Maybe you could tell us about some of the neighborhoods in Clifton, and then maybe get into the issue about small business in those neighborhoods. Maybe just give us the major neighborhoods.
Well, I mean, you have historic Botany section is well known in Clifton. You have the Athenia section. You have the Allwood section, the Richfield section, Lakeview, Delawana. And most of those have their own business districts. You have the Main Ave district. And each one, some are called, what you're familiar with, called a SID, Special Improvement Districts, that collect additional tax revenues to help fund that. Ours is probably one of the few districts, the Athenia business, that doesn't subscribe to the SID program or mentality, I should say. I have a different philosophy about that. But each district in Clifton really has its own unique diversity in it and people in it, and I think...
And they all seem to be thriving. That's the amazing thing. Like, in other words, the stores and the cleanliness and the whole ambiance of the different neighborhoods, they all have their own character. I guess it's a good way of calling it.
That's true. That's true. That actually is a good word. That's a real good word. They have their own character, and I think that what makes up Clifton. It really gives itself its own character in itself and brings a lot to the table for people to come into Clifton.
So, like, in your role as a council member, or even a citizen for a number of years, what do you do to kind of, keep these small businesses viable, try to get new people in, try to look at safety? I mean, it seems like it's, with the different activities of the town, you seem to be doing a pretty good job with that.
Yeah, well, the way I look at it, you try to help their interests of what would make a difference. And a perfect example would be when I got elected, there was always an outcry, I thought, where our sign ordinance was a little bit, I thought, a little underparred. We didn't allow certain signage that other towns did. And the bigger corporations in all towns, not just Clifton, are able to put up the signage because they're able to pay the fine that goes along with it, and it's not going to affect them. But the little guy never had that opportunity. If he put up a little A-frame sign or he put up these little banner signs, he was discouraged because they weren't allowed to do it. So I'm proud to say I spearheaded with the Chamber of Commerce and Gloria Martini to rescind that ordinance, giving tools to the small businesses to gain more exposure, just give them more avenues to prosper, especially in these economic times.
Yeah, public safety is probably a big component in terms of making people feel safe. I mean, I know going back maybe before your tenure, there was some cutbacks in the police and fire department. Have they been kind of brought back up to par? I know you're fighting budget woes.
Yeah, well, that 2% cap didn't help us, but I'm happy to say that the city has a new city manager, Matt Watkins, who's been a strong advocate for services, and that's been a plus for my point of view. We're constantly looking for ways to increase the TO, to bring the table of organization back up to what it should be. I believe we've hired this year about 12 new police officers, which is a plus for the city, and I think the city manager has plans on hiring more in the coming year. I know we just passed a bill to allow for 2 more sergeants. When it comes, Assemblyman, when it comes to safety, if I could wave a wand, I'd have 2 more 100 police on the streets in the city of Clifton. I mean, safety is paramount. Without safety, what are your other programs worth if the people's safety is not at first at hand?
It's an important element. We just went through Hurricane Sandy.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering how it impacted Clifton, with the Public Works Department. Was there problems with trees? I mean, what's it done to the budget? I mean, do you have any insight as far as that's concerned?
Well, I mean, on the last storm we had, FEMA's been very good at reimbursing. So I'm not so much as concerned about what our output was because I know we'll pretty much get 80% of that back. But yeah, Clifton got hit pretty hard. There was a lot of sections that were out for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. But the city was Truthfully, Clifton did fairly well. The only thing that I did was I stopped along when the public service guys happened to be in what's called the staging area.
Yeah.
And I went up to the fellow, just introduced myself and asked if there's anything I could be of help or to just give me information so I could go back to some of the people to inform them. Many people would see these utility workers out there and just sitting and then complaining and acting like they're doing nothing.
Well, I guess some of those people could have been out-of-state folks too, right?
Well, the one fellow, when I spoke with him, there was 4 public service trucks there, and he looked at me and he said, "You see that fellow sitting in that truck over there?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "He's from Sussex, and a tree fell on this fellow's house, and his wife and children are without power, and he's here working." And these guys need to be commended because they're only doing what they're told. And people were screaming and yelling at these public service guys every time they walked into a store to get a bagel or something to eat, like it's their fault. And it's not true. It wasn't their fault. They did an outstanding job. The Clifton Police Department, the Fire Department, the DPW really rose to the occasion, and then some. They should be commended.
You're really kind of going through a big change now with the decision by Hoffman Roach to phase out their operation in Clifton. That was a big employer, right? And then, of course, it's a big rateable, and I'm sure heads are getting together in terms of trying to look at what makes sense as far as coming to that site. What's really happening with that? I mean, and how's the phase out going? I mean, when is it going to be complete? About another year and a half?
I think it's about a year or so that it'll be closed down. And I don't want to go into too many particulars. I don't know if I'm allowed from what I know, but I do know that site is obviously prime real estate. And what's most important is the relationship between Nutley and Clifton, because whatever goes there is going to affect the traffic impact on Nutley and Clifton tremendously. And I think for that location...
What is it, about 1/3 Nutley and 2/3 Clifton, or half and half, somewhere like that?
More in Nutley.
It's more in Nutley, okay.
Yeah, but the thing is, we need to have a meeting. Yeah, we need to have a meeting of the minds there, because in my opinion, we can't afford another box store scenario. It'll just cripple the traffic. We need an application that rises to the occasion. We need something that's going to make a difference, and that's going to call for a number of discussions between Nutley and Clifton. But we're hopeful that the outcome is going to be in our best interest.
Speaking about traffic, Route 3, Route 46, Route 21, the Garden State Parkway. I mean, there's a lot of people that go through Clifton every day. And is that a strain on the police department, or are there some issues that crop up? I know there's a lot of infrastructure plans being talked about, like where 3 and 46. I mean, that's a big bottleneck sometimes. What kind of challenges does that present to the town?
Well, I know I think they got pushed to around 2015, and where you're talking about that bottleneck going
right
westbound.
The
plans are to alleviate that by widening it. Of course, that's going to be a little bit of a patience with the people, like it is on Route 3 going the other way. As far as it affecting our police force, I don't know. I don't think so. Our police force is pretty on top of it, and it's fast-moving traffic. So all you really get there is a little bit of accidents and backup, but not too much that is in need of police response that's taking away, from the city. I mean, of course, there's going to be police response needed, but there's a lot of traffic that goes through the city of Clifton. I mean, like you said, 46 and Route 3 and 21 and. Clifton is a big city. It's a big city.
You seem to have a lot of activity in the different malls along those. I mean, even the newer mall. I mean, there seems to be it seems to be very successful.
Yeah, it has been.
Which is what section is that? Is that in the Delawana section with that mall?
Well, it branches down to Delawana and up to Allwood. That's where the Circle is, where the Stuyertown Shopping Center is, down to Passaic Ave. It's called the Promenade. And they have the LA Fitness and all new restaurants coming in there, and Stu Leonard's and TGI Fridays, and they just put in recently Trader Joe's. Just came there, and people are happy about that. But of course, with that comes more traffic, and more backup, and it's to be expected. I mean, there's nothing you could do about progress. Once you have progress, it's going to happen.
What about the issue of jobs? I know there's a certain amount of jobs in these different malls, but some years ago there was a number of major employers that called Clifton home. Is that still going on to a certain degree? You know, the manufacturing component in sections of town.
You mean like the old business, like Giblin and things
all
of
those
that
places.
nature?
I mean, they were all. I mean, I know they moved
Yeah.
out, but I mean, it has some type of manufacturing, taken its place, or is just not to the same level?
Not to the same level. I mean, when you had Shulton and Giblin and all these
They were
plants,
big employers.
They
Shilton
were-
had
yeah.
a couple thousand people probably
Yeah,
at one time.
they were big, and that's kind of, I think at that point in time, life's about change. And back then, Clifton was very tractable because of the ratables, and the taxes were lower because of that. And now they were replaced with townhomes on townhomes, and, the businesses are good, but the businesses bring traffic, where the old businesses, it was like a school in a sense, where you were there at the beginning of the day and at the end of the day you left. Where these businesses now, it's constant flow of traffic. So there's, the truth is there's pros and cons to everything, but not to that same level of manufacturing. Because that type of manufacturing, truthfully, is moving out of not just Clifton, but out of New Jersey, unfortunately.
You mentioned before about the diversity of Clifton.
Yeah.
Somebody told me going back a few months ago that during the course of the year, there's about 15 or 16 flag raisings of
yes.
different
Yeah.
cultures. I mean, maybe you just want to, cite a few of those. I mean, really, it's really a melting pot and almost like United Nations as far as the composition of Clifton.
That's very true, and as you know, I see at most of those flag raisings too in Clifton. We have an awful lot, every ethnic background you could think of, from Peruvian, Colombian, Hungarian, Polish, Italian, you name it. It's just a laundry list of ethnicities that come to Clifton and want to raise their children and start their businesses and their families in Clifton, and I like that. That's a good thing. It's nice to have, different...
It seems that the school system is what kind of brings families to Clifton. I mean, you still have a tremendous reputation. I know there's challenges like every school system, but it's still, as compared to schools in, the immediate area, it's kind of a place that brings people into town.
Yeah. I mean, as a realtor too, you see that when people are moving into a city or moving out, the primary reasons are usually school, taxes, and safety. So Clifton, I think, is pretty strong in all of those areas. Our safety for what we're working on is as good as it can be. Our police forces is one of the best. Schools are, our schools are fine. There's nothing to complain about our school systems. And the truth of the matter is, I believe our taxes are pretty fair and balanced to a point. People always will complain about their taxes no matter where they live. But if you put our property taxes in comparison to neighboring towns, we're still faring pretty well.
Maybe put your real estate hat on. Foreclosures in Clifton, have you had a fair amount of those?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, there's a fair amount of foreclosures across the board. They temporarily had a moratorium on the foreclosures, if you might remember, some time ago, not too long ago, only because of the paperwork. They thought it wasn't being done fairly and properly, so they kind of put a halt on that. And that gave people a false impression that the foreclosures were slowing down. But unfortunately, once that cleared up, now the market's being a little bit more inundated with the foreclosures because they're moving forward.
And what about the issue of vacant properties? Is that something that's, with these foreclosures, with the banks taking them over and things like that? I mean, you try to, minimize that, I'm sure, the best you can.
Well, yeah, there's only so much you could do. If a person leaves their home or forecloses on their home and it's a vacant property, all you could do as a town is stay on top of the bank who owns the property
to maintain
keep it clean. Yeah, to maintain it. That's probably the biggest headache. It's hard. And then what the city does is the city will go out if necessary and we'll maintain it and then just, get reimbursed from the bank at such time.
Well, how do you find, with people say wanting to come into town about getting mortgages? I mean, everybody seems to say that the little people really, they get put through the ringer in terms of trying to get the mortgage. And what's the typical amount that people need, if they wanted to buy a piece of property, like percentage down?
Well, the old school many years ago was 20% down, and that's what they should have stuck to, and they wouldn't have gotten this mess in the first place years ago. But you have a lot of FHAs, which is 3% down, and that's fine, but then the property has to appraise. And the downfall to that is when the government's backing that loan, and they do the appraisal, if there's any shortcomings of the home, the lender says, I want this fixed, or I'm not lending the money, and the seller says, well, I'm not going to do that. And then
can't afford it,
the buyer can't afford to do it, so many deals are falling apart. Lending practices are definitely tight, there's no question. I'm not trying to say that to discourage, but the lending practice is very tight. I mean, people refinancing their own home with good credit, it's taken 8 months. the slowing up of the real estate is truthfully, in my opinion, because of the lending. The lending is just not there like it should be. And that's holding good people and bad people up. Good people are being penalized by not given the opportunity to advance their financial situations with banks. And if that's happening, if you can't further your business, how can you help the other guy who depends on your business?
You mentioned before that you were involved with the Athenia Business Association.
Yes.
That kind of propelled you to
Yes.
run for Clifton City Council. What other organizations have you been involved with over the years? I know you come, of course, with a great deal of Polish traditions, to put it mildly. I mean, I know you were raised in a well-known Polish family in town. I'm sure coupled with that, the cultural things and
Sure.
religious and what have you. What other activities?
Recently or just in
Well,
general?
just over the years.
Well, I mean, over the years, I believe in the early 90s, I was on the rent leveling board in the city of Clifton. I served as a commissioner and then a chairman. I was appointed by Governor Keene. No, not Governor Keene, I'm sorry, I'm dating myself there. I was appointed by Governor McGreevey to the New Jersey Sports Hall of Fame Board of Directors. I also, the Athenia Business Association was something that the ex-councilwoman and Mayor Gloria Koloje had thought, because of my roots in the Athenia section, to resurrect it. Because at one time the Athenia Business Association was very active in the 60s, and then it kind of went dormant for a while. And she made a suggestion that I probably would be the best candidate to do that, being that I live in the Athenia section.
So what do you do, like with these, like the business association or the SIDS? Try to promote business, cleanliness, signage, public safety. I mean, what's your goal in terms of trying to make sure these neighborhoods are viable?
Well, I mean, as far as our association is concerned, we just try to help work hand in hand with the city to give the businesses whatever they need to survive.
Trying to promote, Shop Clifton, so to speak, with the holidays?
Yeah, Shop Clifton, or in other words, one issue that I was helpful with was when I got elected was Van Houten Ave had parking restrictions. So if you wanted to open up a business, a lot of times they said, well, we can't approve that because there's no parking. We helped lift those parking restrictions. So now you could come into this Van Houten Ave or the Athenia section, and you want to be a bakery or a restaurant, you're not subject to no parking. Now, that always kind of I found funny, because we have a pretty large parking lot, municipal lot in Clifton, which is easily within walking distance of half of the places. And if you go to somewhere like New York City, where do you see a parking spot right in front of anywhere you're walking there?
Well, it does make a big difference in terms of people jumping in and jumping out. They have to do a quick stop with a coffee or bakery or something, cleaners, things like that. That's very important.
Yeah, no, so, I think it's just a matter of finding out the business's needs, whether it's parking, signage, cleanliness. We implemented some safety grip crosswalks from City Hall down as a pilot program for the rest of the city of Clifton to bring awareness that that's a crosswalk, to allow to put the stop for pedestrian crosswalking signage in the street, which acts as also slowing up traffic, as much as we can to make it safe, clean, and attract more attention.
When are you up for re-election in the city?
2014, May of 2014 is the City Council's re-election.
Yeah, that's the way coming around quick, doesn't it?
It's coming very quick.
You get through this particular year. Do you have any particular goals during this next year and a half you're going to be looking at or trying to concentrate in terms of the city? I know there's many things being thrown. I guess the budget is a major issue in terms of trying to cope with that and then work with the city manager. Maybe just tell us a little bit about the form of government. I mean, you have the city manager and the mayor. Maybe you just want to identify
Correct.
them.
I mean, our form of government is this. The city manager is our form of government who runs the city, the day-to-day operation.
Matt Watkins.
Matthew Watkins, correct. He's the guy who runs the day-to-day operations of the city of Clifton. The mayor and council basically set policy. That is our...
And the mayor, of course, is Giblin.
Jim Zaldi's our mayor.
For a number of years.
He's been mayor for a long time.
25 plus years, even more than that, I think it is.
Yeah, he's getting up there. About 28 years, give or take, he's been up there.
That's a long time.
He's doing a great job, and his heart is in Clifton, as many of the council members are. And our responsibility is like I said, implement policies that affect the city of Clifton, and then our city manager carries out our instructions regarding policy. But our form of government is the city manager runs the day-to-day operations.
Councilman Grabowski, if any of our viewers, want to reach out and contact you, how would they go about that?
We have a website. It's cliftonnj.org. www.cliftonnj.org. You could go to the website and look under, I think it's Mayor and Council, and you could find every council member's email there, and you could email us accordingly to whatever your questions or concerns may be.
And when do the council meetings? What tradition, the days of the month are they?
They're every first and third Tuesday of every month. 6:30, and then we have a public portion that starts at 8 o'clock. And there's 5 minutes for each person if they want to come up and address any issues. That's a public portion of the meeting. The first 6:30 to 8 is just your basic, whatever we have to get involved with the city's, issues.
The only thing looking at the Clifton City Council and the government over the years, once people get elected, they have pretty good longevity in public service. I mean, I think of Gloria Kaloja, who retired the last time that she was there.
Gloria's been there a long time.
Was there a long time. And, of course, Mayor Anzaldi and other folks that are on the council, they do a good job and seems to have the public keeps reelecting them.
Well, when I ran and when we were having these forums to speak about, we always talked about why you ran. And the way my thing is, Clifton is my home. So my interest was for my home, to protect my home. So I think if that's your best interest, then people are going to keep you there for a long time because your interest is their interest.
Okay, I want to thank Councilman Matt Grabowski for coming on the Giblin Report, giving us an update about things that are happening in Clifton and in his work as a member of the Clifton City Council. And to our viewers, I just want to note, if you have any pressing issues that may require my attention or any questions regarding current state legislation, you can contact me at 973-779-3125 or, of course, by email, asmgiblin@njleg.org. For more information, you can go to my website at www.assemblymangiblin.com. Thanks for watching the Giblin Report, and remember, if it's an issue to you, it's an issue to me. Thanks for watching the Giblin Report.